Hello and welcome to the Node.js series. I'm a little bit excited for today's video because it is one of the cool aspects of backend development. This is database integrations. And to be precise, for today's video, our focus is on MySQL or MySQL database integration with Node and Express.js. With this, I will set a prerequisite, and this is to install MySQL or SQL on your local machines or systems so that we can get started. If you haven't installed SQL, you can pause this video and then try to install MySQL as well as MySQL Workbench. If you have all of your setup ready, then you can start the video and we can proceed. So with this, we will dive into the order of the day. So for this, I would love to start to create the table or our database. So now this is MySQL Workbench. If you don't know, if you installed on your local system, if you go to the home and tap MySQL, you will see Workbench. So I have 8.0 as the version. So yeah. So this is MySQL Workbench. So now we are going to, for now I'm not going to dive deeper into a database because this series is all focused on Node and Express. So I will create the database so fast without much explanations. Probably if you would love for me to do a video on database, then you can comment in the comment section. So for this, I will create a database. So CREATE, create database, and our database for this course will be, we can just say example, EXAMPLE, because we are not doing something complex here. So we create our database, and the next step will be to use the database. So use example, the name of the database, and the next step will be to create the database table. So for that we will use create, CREATE, create table, BLE, table, and the name of our table will be user, USARS, users, and yeah, I will try to make this organize a bit. So yeah, so the first thing, not to make this complicated, we can say ID, and ID will be integer, and we will set this as primary key, so PRIMARY KEY key, and also auto increment, and CREMENT increment, and next will be email. So we will be taking email, so EMAIL, and this will be varchar, VARCHAR, and for this we will say take in, let's put maximum maybe 255, and we will give a constraint, and the constraint in this case will be unique, UNIQUE, as well as not null, NOT and UAL. So this is just okay. So next will be password, VASSWORD, and the same as varchar, so variable character, CHAR, and for password we can pass in 20, and this will just be an OT, not null, as our constraint for password. So after this, we can have a select. So select statement, select, SELECT, select all from our table. What's the table name? USER as user. So this is a basic structure of creating a database as well as a table within a database. So now we will try to run all of this and select, and then click on this thunder symbols you are seeing here to execute. So if you can notice below, we have ID, ID email as well as password. And for now, we have nothing, no values within these places, a placeholder. So that's why we are saying no below. So we have created our database as well as the table. And now we are going to try to connect this database with our backend, which is Express and Express.js. So let us come to a VS Code. And if you see on the left sidebar, I created 3 empty files, like a server.js, index.html, and this is also empty. And I have .env. So this is an environment of variables. We are going to set environment because I'm going to use a password in this case that I don't want the public to know of. So that's why I set my environment variable. So that's what I want you to know. So now let us try to create our server. So now we can say const as usual. So const express express, and this would be require require express express const. And next in this case will be, we can say MySQL and require require MySQL 2. You can install MySQL 2 or MySQL. By the way, MySQL is a standard module, so we have to install that. So we will see that shortly. So we set up MySQL as well as Express, and we will set our app and initialize it with Express. So Express, and also set our port variable to 3000 and app dot and listen, so port, and have our callback function console.log. So we can write in our console statement, server is listening on port 3000. So let us save this and look at and try to run our server to see if our server is connected and running. So nodemon, nodemon server server. If we run, we are getting an error here, and this error is because we haven't installed MySQL. So here you can see cannot find module MySQL 2. So let us try to close our server, clean, CLEARN, so CLEARN, clear. So here we are going to now install MySQL 2. So this will be npm installed MySQL 2. So install. So if you haven't installed Express, you can go ahead and also install Express, but I've already installed Express. So follow the same steps, npm space I space and then Express. So another module we are also going to install will be the .env module, because I'm going to transfer data from .env to my server. So for that, I will say npm pm I .env. This is not mandatory for now, especially if you are practicing on your local system. I have a password I don't want the public to know of, like I mentioned previously. That's why I'm using environment variable. So now we can try to run our server. So NODEMON SERVER, and now we can see server is listed on port 3000. So now our server is ready. Let's try to connect our MySQL database. Let's set the connections. So for that, we can say, okay. So to set up that, we can say const db stands for database mysql.create create connections ctron connections, and in here in the connections function we are going to have a dictionary, or we can say key value pairs in here. So the first thing is host. So what is the host? I'm using a local host, so LOCALHOST, local host. And next would be our user, so user. And what's the user? Is root. I'm using root as my username. And next would be password. So here you will see the use of environment variable, and I can say password password, and password will be process c process.env dot database db underscore password password password. And lastly, we can have our database name. So database database database, and here the name of our database is what? Example. So whatever name you put here should be the name you should set as your database name. So example example. So now we have set up our DB variables. So now let us try to connect. So for that we can say DB dot let's see, okay, yeah, so DB dot connect, and in connect we will have a function so that takes in one the parameter, and now we will check a condition if we have an error. If error, we can console log console console dot yeah, we can say console dot error. I think this is also valid, so you can also try console dot log. That is not an issue. So whatever result will be also placed within the console. So here we can say error y connecting, so NNECT connecting TIN the database, connecting the database. So this, when we try to connect our database and we have an error, this should be sent to our console. Otherwise, we can say console.log database is connected successfully. So database connected successfully. If we save this and check our console, we should see okay. So now if we check, we can see server is listed on port, and also we have an error. So that means our database is not connected. So the reason for that is because we haven't connected our environment variable. So here we can say require QURRE, and we will pass in dot dot env v dot config. So if we save this now, we should see that the error is gone. So now we can see in our console, database is connected successfully. So now we have managed to connect our database. The next step here is to send a data to our database. So for that, I will create a HTML file. So HTML, and let us try to create a form. So form form, and our action here would be login or GIN, login, and also you should have a method. So for this, we will have a post request. So remember, you will be sending a sensible data. So for that, you cannot use get method. That's why we are using post. So now let us say import, just a simple form. So import, and here we will have text. So name will be email, email. Yeah, I don't want text. I can just put email. Email ID also email, and placeholder. So email. So the same for password, PUT, password, PASS password, and password and placeholder also password. So lastly, we will have our button. So submit button, and here we can just hit submit. Okay. Okay. So now we have our basic HTML files or basic HTML form, and now we are going to connect this HTML with our server and try to send data. Whatever data that is going to be imported in within this form will be sent to our database. So we come back to our server, and as you remember in the module video, not module, but in the middleware video, we saw how to take data from, how to extract data from a form and then display within our console. So the same process, but in this case, we need to send to our database instead of the console. So for that, we can say app.use express dot, and here will be URL encoded, so extended, and 2. So we have already seen this. This helps us to take data from our request. Whatever data that will be sent from the form, we can pass, will be stored into the request body, and we will use that to store within our database. So now let us come below. Let's come below our connections and try to say app dot get, and get will be our home page. So we have slash for the home route, and also rest. So, and here we will say rest dot send, SEND send file. By the way, we want to send our index.html file as the home page so that we can get this form. So here, let us try to import another module that will be an inbuilt module, path. We have seen path, so require required, and pass in path. So now we say rest.send file, and in this rest.send file we will have path.joint, and in our joint method we can have directory name, and this connecting with our index.html. So let us save this. We check our console again. There is no error, everything seems fine. So let us go to our browser and try to run localhost. So now, localhost, we can see our form, email, password, submit button. So this is just a basic form so that you can get the idea. So everything seems perfect for now. So the next step here now will be sending the data to our database. So here we will create our app.post method. And if we saw in the HTML, we use slash login as our action. So whenever this link has been visited, this form will be implemented. So if you click submit, this link will be visited. So hope you get the idea. So we have the same actions that will be login, and here we pass in rec, and rest. Okay, so next step will be to deconstruct our email and password. So email and password. So, and this will be our req.body. So we are deconstructing the request.body, whatever values that will be email and password will be passed into this email and password variable. So next will be our query. So const, so we can say import query, and for that I will use a template screen. So import, not import but insert, insert into our database name. So the table name, not the database, but the table name. So if we check our table name, we use our users. So we have to use the same users, users, and in user we have email, email, and that of password. And next would be values, and here we will put question mark. Remember, you cannot put the true value in this parameter because SQL injection can be used to extract that. So be mindful. That's why we put question mark. So now we will say database db dot, and let's see. Okay, yeah, the name is db. So db dot query, and here we will pass in the query, which is import query. So input import query, and the value that will be passed into this value here where we have the question mark. So the two value will be email and that of password. We have already set the variables. So now we come here and say email, email, as well as password. And next parameter here will be error, and that of result. So this would be a function. We will check a condition. If we have an error, then we can try to display on in our browser that we have an error. So for this we can say rest dot send, and this will be we can have a HTML, yeah. So here will be h1. So error in this case will be error. Oops, let me make this a bit opps. Oops, error y, inserting into the database. error while inserting into the database and close our h1 tag. So if we have an error, we should send this mirror, we should display this message to our browser. Otherwise, we can say send res.send, and here I would just copy this HTML and change. So here we have, and we can change that database. So database okay, data was inserted successfully. So data was inserted successfully. This is the message we should get when the data has been inserted into the database successfully. So let me go over this post request once again. So we have our post, and this is the action that was taken in our form. We have action. So whenever this action has been occurred, then whatever thing in here should be implemented. So if we hit the submit, we will hit this post URL, and then we deconstruct reg.body. As you remember in the middleware video, whenever we pass values in our form, that will be passed into the reg.body. So for our case, we have email and password. So email and password will be deconstructed. So that's why we have email and password. So next will be our SQL queries. So we wrote our SQL query that insert into our user table, email and password with this value. Whatever value that we inserted or we place here, email and password will be passed into values. And next, we check for an error. If we have an error, we should display that to our browser, that error occurred while inserting to the database. Otherwise, data was successfully inserted. So this is it. Let us save and see if everything is working fine. So we can see database connected successfully. Let's go to our browser, reload, and try to insert. So yeah, let us say maybe a John or Asian John Brown at johnbrown@gmail.com, and here we can say password 12345678 and submit. Voila, data was inserted successfully. So if we check our database now, and previously when we run select all from user, we saw that no data was in the database. But let us try to run this SQL query again. So run this. Voila, we can see ID 1 because we set to auto increment, and email johnbrown@gmail.com, as well as the password 12345678. So this is how we connect our MySQL database with Node or JS, Node and Express or JS. If you love the video, I will recommend that you give your feedback in the comment section. This is how I'm going to know that I'm performing well in terms of the content or not. So with this, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.